This one, we're doing another Nero video. So he uploaded another video called I Was Wrong About Skill-Based Matchmaking. It's worse than I thought. Not sure what that means, but we're about to find out.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to the Black Ops 6 beta. Here we are once again on the Father of 4 account. This is footage you guys have probably seen before, but it's very fitting for today's video. Earlier I read a thread and it was really interesting where somebody went through and carried out several different kill-death ratio tests on 5 different Modern Warfare 3 accounts and then posted his results over to Reddit, and those results were really interesting, coupled in with the fact that I learned a lot more about skill-based matchmaking after having watched JGod's video where he reacted to my video back during the beta. Essentially, I made this account right here, Father of 4, with the idea being seeing how the other side lives. I'm not going into these lobbies trying to get nukes or anything. I just wanted to see how different Call of...
Also, I will say, Nero, the Father of 4 thing was an absolute genius move. That's all.
Would be on a brand new account that has no skill-based matchmaking history or anything like that. I initially thought, and I was wrong about this, that if you have a brand new account that you're put into the lowest bracket of skill-based matchmaking, but how JGod actually described it is when you have a brand new account, they're essentially trying to figure out what kind of a player you are. So what they do is they toss you into the middle of skill-based matchmaking to kind of get a feel for you as a player and then adjust you as they see your stats and as they track every single little thing that you do within the game. So what blew my mind is learning, first and foremost, this was not the lowest bracket of skill-based matchmaking.
I don't think that's necessarily true. I think as soon as he played one game in a lobby like this, he probably didn't get any kills, and then it threw him into the protected bracket.
This is like the average bracket of skill-based matchmaking where the vast majority of players play. He even linked this chart right here, which shows that the most people that play COD hover around a 0.86 KD. Yes. Of course, this is for Warzone, but the same is essentially true of multiplayer as well. The vast...
No, I would say it's probably like 0.96 in multiplayer.
Majority of the Call of Duty community play around here, and if you have a 1.5 KD, apparently you're in the top 10% of the player base. A 2 KD is the top 3% of the player base,
yes,
which is mind-blowing because before skill-based matchmaking and before all this stuff took over, a 2 KD was not that difficult, or at least
1 sec.
It wasn't that uncommon. It seemed like pretty much everybody on my friends list back in the day had somewhere close to a 2 KD, whereas now, if you're a 2 KD player, you're like one of the best people in the world, essentially, which is pretty freaking mind-blowing. Well,
so I agree with this and don't agree with it at the same time. Let me explain. Number one, as a whole, without skill-based matchmaking, the average kill death should still be a 1. Just the way that it works out. One person kills someone, one person dies. So it still works out to 1, right? Without skill-based matchmaking, there is wider swings. So there will be more people with a 2 and more people with a 0.5, but on average, it still comes out to 1. It pretty much has to come out to 1. Now, here's where things change up, and here's why the average kill death in Warzone is 0.86. It's not 1. It's because there's also other ways to die. You could drown. You could jump off a cliff. You could fall to your death. You could get run over by a truck that you were driving yourself. There's many of these options. And that's why the average kill death in Warzone is lower than 1. If it wasn't for those things, if you couldn't manage to off yourself, you literally, the average kill death would be 1. That's why it's lower than 1. But on average, yeah, without skill-based matchmaking, there would be more people at 2 and there would be more people at 0.5. And
well, like I said, over on Reddit, a user by the name of David83 carried out a bunch of these skill-based matchmaking tests on 5 different accounts, and I just want to go ahead and check out what he posted. So when he joined his account that had a 0.3 to a 0.5 KD, he says, "You literally play with bots at beginner level. It is almost impossible to die. I also had serious doubts whether they were real people or bots. Too easy. They have no idea what they have to do. You walk in front of them and can dodge bullets Matrix style. You're bored. In one match, I met a streamer who had the Twitch tag who cast a nuke, definitely reverse boosting." So that's what it's like at the very bottom of skill-based matchmaking based on his testing, where he said he played about 20 games on each one of these.
We will watch this video. My chats right now, you're all asking me, what is the solution to skill-based matchmaking? Let's watch this and then I will put in my input.
The next account is going to be for a 0.6 to a 0.7 KD, saying similar situation to the previous one, with the difference that in every lobby there is someone who is starting to be a little more challenging. If you're not careful, you can die sometimes. Very easy to dominate the lobby. When I got 7 or 8 consecutive kills, I committed suicide to lower my KD, or I remained still without reacting. So anywhere,
which is interesting because they say that kills on you by yourself do not affect matchmaking
from that 0.6,
whatsoever.
0.7 KD, it still seems like you're in the lower bracket of skill-based matchmaking overall. And after tanking my stats on the Father of 4 account during the Black Ops 6 beta, I believe that was essentially where I was. Initially, they may have put me in with like the 0.8 KD players, but after just walking around and
so yeah, that's what I was saying
missing,
before,
intentionally dying a whole bunch and all that, I think they dropped me back down to that lobby essentially because every lobby was super chill. It was super relaxed, and people honestly were having a lot more fun than we do in the higher brackets of skill-based matchmaking.
I mean, it depends what you consider
we have
fun.
another account with a 0.75 to 0.8 KD,
Ooh,
and they write, the situation becomes more challenging. You no longer have the feeling of playing with bots. You will find easy opponents with some faster movements and more precise aiming. It seems like the classic casual experience. Not easy, but not
Keep in mind, skill-based matchmaking isn't just based on KD.
stressful either.
Just keep that in mind.
You have to put in the effort without going crazy. And then from there, the 0.85 to 0.95 KD, goodbye randomness. Everybody plays to dominate. Everybody is expert and has excellent map awareness. There are no more relaxing matches, but you have to
And yes, what you were saying there, where you play 5 games, 3 of them you do good, and then 2 you get shit on, that's
compete
my
at your
experience
best.
as well.
I think that's the average experience for most, which makes sense given the chart that J God linked there. That's essentially where the vast majority of the community plays. And then on his account, which was a 1.05 KD, you are literally in hell with the Lords of Sweat and Movement who seem to be playing for their lives. It's a crazy mess and many use tricks. If you're not a high level player, it's better not to get here. You won't have fun anymore. And in conclusion, many of you complain about not having easy lobbies, often read questions like, where are the casual players? Surely you are an average player from 0.8 KD and up. You will never meet those type of players. They are protected in that KD range, which goes from 0.25 to 0.7. These players definitely don't.
Yo, Ink, been watching your VODs. Wanted to say thank you for linking up with the Zombies community and info on your side as well. I'm glad you've been enjoying it, man.
Come to Reddit and write
Kinda why
this
we've been doing
matchmaking is
this.
too aggressive and they don't have fun. The lobbies are very balanced. I thought this was really interesting. And the big thing, right, when he talked about the KD, once you're over a 1 KD, even slightly over a 1 KD, how you're kind of just in Sweatlord hell in the Call of Duty franchise. And the way he put it, if you're not a high level player, it's better not to get here. And that's kind of my thing. Like, I was playing Modern Warfare 3, obviously, with the haunting events and everything going on
So,
with that.
okay,
And I was
so
thinking,
this is not how skill-based matchmaking works. I want to be clear on this. What he is describing and what this person on Reddit is describing is not how skill-based matchmaking works anymore. There might have been a time where it did, but it is not based off of your overall kill death. It is based off of how you did in the last game or the last 2 games, which in my opinion may be worse. Like, because they can like adjust what the experience you're getting in game so quickly, and that's like it's shitty, honestly. Like, they're designing your play experience to get you to play longer. That's why some people are not calling it SBMM anymore. They're calling it engagement optimized matchmaking. So this, what he is describing of, oh, you never want to have a 1 kill death because you're always going to be in these crap lobbies, is not the case.
Thinking to myself, literally last night, like after I streamed, after I got my videos up and everything, I was just playing the game and I was recording, but I was playing the game, you know, and I was thinking to myself, I'm having a hard time in these lobbies. I'm not going negative,
and we will
but
get
I'm
to
not
the
going
solution.
super positive either. Every lobby kind of feels the same. Every lobby kind of feels sweaty. And I'm thinking to myself, well, maybe I just need to knock off the rust a little bit. You know, I haven't played a lot of Modern.
So why does every lobby feel the same or relatively the same that he's playing? Because they're adjusting every single game that he is playing so he gets a similar experience, and that sucks. It sucks.
Warfare 3 over the course of the past couple of seasons, but then it dawned on me, with skill-based matchmaking, actively trying to get better at the game is going to punish me and make my lobbies even worse than what they currently are.
Technically,
the
yeah.
better you are at the game, the less fun essentially you're going to have. The people that are actually having fun with COD are the people that aren't really that.
Here is the problem with that mindset, right? What is having fun in Call of Duty? Do you only have fun if you are destroying the other team? Or is having fun a close game? Because some people would argue that the close games are the ones that are actually fun, which means skill-based matchmaking is perfect for you because it's going to give you the closest game possible. Or is when you don't have fun, just when you get stomped on. Like, what is actually having fun? And I get it. I'm someone who wants to stomp all over people, get all the kill streaks in the world, get 100 kills and 5 deaths, and yeah, that's fun. But eventually, if you do that every single game, the novelty of doing that is no longer fun. So there's this. What is fun? What is fun with this game?
0.6 to a 0.7 KD, those are the people that they can actually chill out and relax, as David83 mentioned in his Reddit post. I'll put a link to the full post down there in the description if you guys want to go ahead and check it out. What was nice about older Call of Duty games is you weren't so strictly stuck in your one particular bracket. You know, that bracket where you have people that are kind of walking around like they're bots and they can't hit any of their shots.
I actually disagree with this.
Players would occasionally be in your average normal lobby.
I think
sometimes
you were more
had, like, the
stuck
2KD
in
sweat
old
lords. You had the really terrible people. You had people
that
in the middle and everything in between.
Matchmaking.
And that
because
is
it was
what made
based off of your
fun
overall
and interesting
stats,
experience,
not your game-to-game stats.
To the games.
Maybe
I'm
wrong.
didn't feel like there was money on the line as you're just running around on the new spooky clown map trying to unlock camos for your STG because you haven't been playing Modern Warfare 3 over the course of the past couple of months. Therefore, your STG was level 1 and you're trying to level it up and get your camos. You know, it's one of those things where you want to do good in the game. You want to consistently win more of your gunfights than you don't. But the thing is, I already do that, and I'm sure the vast majority of you watching this video already do that as well. You want to go out there and you want to dominate, but doing so just means you're not going to be able to do it in the future. They're constantly shifting the goalpost on you with how the matchmaking system works.
That I agree with.
Going to the comments of that Reddit thread was really interesting because some people are pointing out their experiences as higher KD players. Some of these guys are like 2 KD. I'm more like a 1.3, 1.4 right now, and I think I can do better. I don't think I want to do better, but I think I could do better. Usually my KD is bad in all the recent Call of Duty titles because the only thing that kind of keeps me motivated and playing is going for the mastery camo challenges, and doing that.
You're just kind of wrong there. If you're in the top 1% of the player base, you will shit on almost every person in your lobby, and it's not that often you get real competition. Yes, if you are really, really in the top 1%, yes. Otherwise, but your lobbies are still vastly sweatier. But like, yeah, if you're a Shotzi, you're pretty much going to shit on every lobby you're in.
A lot of the time
he does against the pros. There's no one that can even come close to him. So yeah,
pretty terrible stats. Like if I'm down to like a 1.1 KD after I get Interstellar camo, raising that from 1.1 to 1.4, having all those deaths on my record is actually pretty impressive. So when you look at an overall KD of like 1.4, you might be representative of like a 1.8 to a 2 KD over the course of the past couple of months. It just really depends more on your recent performance, I suppose, as compared to what you did, you know, 6 months ago while you're grinding out your camos. But regardless, there are some people in there who have like a 2 KD and they're talking about their experiences, and they're also talking about the potential for a ringer system within matchmaking. So for those of you in the comments who have pretty good stats and have had them over the course of the past couple of years,
this is a stupid idea.
Have you noticed that consistently you'll be at the top of your team in kills and objective play, but you're still losing all the time because you have 2 or 3 people on your team that are doing absolutely nothing? I'm talking you're playing domination or maybe hard points or whatever, and it's a very close, hotly contested match. You've got like 50 kills, all this objective time and everything, and then there's these people on your team with like 14 kills and they've been there for the entire match. Like, why does that happen in a game where matchmaking is so strict and it's broken up into 10 different skill brackets?
Well, they actually explained why this happens. It happens because you're going to get put into lobbies that have a general SR similar to yours. So if you're a 7 SR player, they might put you against a bunch of other people that are 7 SRs, but if they can't find any that are close to your SR for your team, and you're maybe an 8 SR, or maybe everyone on the enemy team is a 6 SR, you're a 7 SR, the rest of your team might be a 4 or 5 SR to balance out everyone on the other team being a 6 SR. So it just tries to make as a balanced of a lobby as possible, and sometimes that screws really good players.
How does that happen? And more to the point, how does it happen so ridiculously consistently? I think this might be due to a lack of players with those kinds of stats. Again, if you look at JGod's graph here, the number of people who actually have good stats in the COD community is very low. There's not that many people out there, essentially. So is it possible that they're putting good players into lower skill bracket lobbies in an effort to balance out teams more when matchmaking is putting those lobbies together? This is something I noticed even in X-Defiant, a game with 0 skill-based matchmaking. Typically, I have a friend or 2 to play with, maybe somebody from my stream, or maybe my brother's playing, or Jet, or Nate, or whoever, right? Normally, I have at least one person to play the game with, but when I play solo, and I'm not being hyperbolic here, guys, I lose probably 70% of the time in XDefiant because there is no skill-based matchmaking. I'll be towards the top in terms of kills in the entire lobby. I'll be the #1 in objective score in the entire lobby, and I'll lose. And there's evidence of that over on my Twitch streams. I'm not just here trying to provide anecdotal evidence or anything. Like, I'm streaming this live and people are watching it happen. I'm not even joking. I think the last time I played the game, I went on a run of like 3 wins and 11 losses in one day while playing solo, and that's due to team balancing, essentially. If you have really good stats, which I do have really good XDefiant stats, people...
So, wouldn't this be... what he's explaining be evidence of skill-based matchmaking actually being a good thing? Because what he's saying is that there is still team balance in XDefiant. So in other words, once you are in a lobby, it's going to put the, like, draft it so that the best player has the worst player on their team. And then on the other team, it's going to be the second best player with the second worst player, and balance it that way, right? If you're in with skill-based matchmaking, all of those players are going to be closer together so that as a whole, your lobby is closer and you don't have as much of those problems. And your win-loss is closer to a 1, right? What he's saying is because there is no skill-based matchmaking, he gets put with a lot of bad players because he's a really good player. And there's no balance or checks and balances for that because there's no skill-based matchmaking. So let's be clear, I do not like skill-based matchmaking, but he is almost making a point for a positive of skill-based matchmaking and saying this.
People with really bad stats are going to be on my team. When we all get thrown together based on no skill-based matchmaking whatsoever, the game has to divide the teams, and they try to divide the teams equally. So if you're somebody with really good stats, if there's somebody in that lobby with really bad stats, well, congratulations, you guys are now best friends, and you're going to be on the same team every single match. The same is true in Call of Duty. Even though COD has skill-based matchmaking, team balancing has also been a thing. But with the wide range of skill brackets, it seems like if you're up there in like the top 10% of players, you're expected to carry even more because the vast majority of the community are in those lower skill-based matchmaking brackets. And you would think maybe that's a good thing. You know, if you're somebody that's really good and you're playing in a lower bracket lobby, you might think that's awesome because that lobby's not going to be as sweaty as the lobbies that you're used to. But the opposite is true. Because of team balancing, when you're guaranteed to have bad teammates almost every single match, it affects you pretty heavily, no matter how good of a player you are. Even if you're better than everybody else in the lobby, it's really hard to dominate when the other team is consistently putting up UAVs, calling in score streaks, taking objectives, and gaining map control. Because it's a team game, you're one of 6 people, and the people on your team are essentially doing nothing but feeding the other team kills. Like, it's really a no-win scenario. I can't really think of a situation anywhere in life where the better you are, the worse experience you're going to have. How does that make sense? Like,
I mean, you could technically say any sport, right? The better you are, the better people you're going to play against because you want to play at that higher level. Like, you could literally say that about anything that's competitive whatsoever.
Oh man, I love COD. I can't wait to get good at COD. I want to be putting up those big kill streaks and everything. But they keep shifting the goal.
Like the best example I can give you there is like hockey, right? Like, so I grew up playing hockey, and like the way that hockey works here is like you have House League, which is like the bottom of the barrel, anyone, and then you have to try out, and then you have single A, double A, triple A. And then you have junior hockey. You have like junior B, junior A, that's like OHL, and then you have your minor leagues, which is your AHL, and then you have NHL. So like, let's say I start playing single A, and slowly I become the best player on my team. All right, I'm pub stomping at that point. All right, next year you move up to double A. All right, I'm the worst player in double A. I get better, to the point where I'm the best player on the team. And then I move up, and then I'm in AAA, and I'm the worst again, and I have to move up through that. Do you see the comparison that I'm making here? It's like, if you're in a competitive anything, things are going to get harder the better players that you play against. And maybe you don't want that. And that is the issue with skill-based matchmaking. You want a casual experience. And yes, I'm a Maple Leafs fan, and it sucks every single year. Not the point, though. Do you see what I'm getting at? It depends what your definition of fun is. If your definition of fun is casually playing Call of Duty and doing really well at it, then yes, skill-based matchmaking sucks. But if you want competitive games, and you could argue, okay, that's what ranked plays for, like, don't get me wrong, I don't want skill-based matchmaking the way that it is, and I'm still getting to my solution for this, but to say that he can't think of anything where the better you get, the harder something gets is dumb.
Post. You can't ever actually achieve that, really. Every now and then you have a couple easy lobbies. Every now and then the stars align. You end up putting up 80 kills, calling in your chopper gunners and having a blast and whatnot, but typically that's a fluke. And when you do that, you know damn well they're going to disband that lobby and skill-based matchmaking is going to kick in, and your next hour is going to be nothing but sweatfest, like the matches that you guys have been watching in this video. I did not cherry pick these gameplays whatsoever. I want to give you guys an accurate representation of what it's like when you're up there in the, not highest by any freaking means, I'm not the best COD player in the world, but when you're in like the upper tier somewhere, I suppose, of skill-based matchmaking, this is what most lobbies are like. I think a lot of my scores in like full-length games of Dom and Hardpoint, I'm going like, you know, 55 and 40, 50 and 35, sometimes 50 and 45, you know, something like that. Like, basically what they do is they try to make it so everybody's KD is as close to 1 as humanly possible. And honestly, I kind of want my KD to be lower. I kind of want my stats to be worse because I can leave this echelon of skill-based matchmaking and then go play with the rest of the community in the slightly lower, more average, more general.
Yeah, but that's not how it works, because the second that you have a good game, it's going to put you with those higher players again. It's not your overall kill death, it's your kill death in like your last few games that actually matter.
Area of skill-based matchmaking where people maybe actually have fun. But if you're
And
actually
I'm pretty
a good
sure
player,
that has
there's
been
always going to be an
proven.
equilibrium where if you tank your stats or if you just intentionally die a bunch or whatever, eventually just by playing the game, your stats are going to get better because you're a better player and you're in the same scenario that you were before. And
Yeah,
it just,
okay. He agrees with me.
I hate the system so much, man. It's ridiculously frustrating, and honestly, it makes COD not fun to play. Like, I still love COD fundamentally. I've been playing the game for 17 years now. It's a big part of my life. Like, over half my life now, essentially, I've been a fan of the Call of Duty franchise. I've been covering it here on YouTube for 13 years. But this matchmaking system is so borked, and the fact that, again, how many scenarios in life are you punished for getting better? It doesn't make any sense, especially in a...
Most. Like, even take sports out of this. Let's take jobs, for example. Let's say you are an accountant, right? The better you become at being an accountant, if you work for a firm or yourself, the higher amount of clients, number-wise or quality-wise, is going to get higher. They will have harder tax returns to do, and your life will get more difficult. And yes, that is getting paid. I understand that. But almost everything in life, as you get better at something, it gets harder. With literally almost everything.
Casual playlist in a video game, dude. It's ridiculous. Ladies and gentlemen.
Wait, let me read this. Reckless Iguana, he said, hey, with how strict SBMM is right now, it's like learning to ride a bike. You struggle, fall a few times, but eventually you get the hang of it and stop falling. Then, out of nowhere, one day you hop on your bike and instantly wipe out, like you never learned in the first place. That is an interesting. Let me think about that. I just want to
rant a little bit about skill-based matchmaking here. I know you guys have never heard me talk about the subject before. We're really breaking new ground here on the Air Cinema here today, but I saw that post on Reddit. Again, link to that down there in the description, and seeing how all these people are talking about matchmaking and their experiences and their stats, it sparked this entire idea in my head, and so I made this video here today. I hope you guys all enjoyed it.
Reckless Iguana, I want to
down there in the
add
comments.
to what
Thank
you just
all
said.
So much for listening, and I hope you guys all have a wonderful day.
Because your analogy is really good, except I want to change one thing. Because you said it's like learning to ride a bike. You fall a few times and eventually you get the hang of it and you get better at riding a bike. And then one day, an NFL linebacker comes and tackles you off of your bike for a short period of time, but then you get back on. And when you get back on, they actually have given you a better bike. But that better bike is only for about a mile, because after that mile, you run over some glass and pop both of your tires and then have to deal with that for another, 2 matches or so. It's this constant ebb and flow of who you are playing with. And I don't think that's how it should work. This is where my solution comes in. They should adjust who you are playing against less often, and there should be a wider margin of who you can play against. They're never going to get rid of skill-based matchmaking. We just have to accept that. That is the way that it is going to be. And the only way to actually fix this is to make the margins of players that you play against wider, and to make it so that it's not this kind of, you have one good game, my next 2 games are bad. I have 2 good games, my next 3 games are bad. I have 3 good games, my next 2 games are bad. So yeah, that's what's going on there. So that is how I think you fix it in a reasonable way. Not just get rid of it, adjust it, make it actually a little bit more random. But yeah, we've talked about skill-based matchmaking a lot.